Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody. It's already started here in the green room. So I'm so excited that you're here with us today. We've got the amazing Brooke Sellas back on the show. I saw her at Social Media Marketing World, and I know she's really good at what she does, but she is a really good speaker, too. Her presentation was awesome. So we're going to be kind of diving into some of the things she talked about at Social Media Marketing World because I just thought it was great, and we're talking about a dopamine machine. Brooke, thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me. It was so much fun to hang out with you at
It
World.
was. It was crazy because I had to change, the whole slide thing. I didn't go to
We
anything.
felt so badly for you. We were really sending you all of our positive vibes.
Oh gosh, and I was up all night, like the night before, trying to get it straightened out, and it worked out good. So I'm glad I did it. But oh gosh,
It worked out great. I got a
crazy.
chance to see your talk, and it was fantastic.
Thank you so much. So, and Connor Brown, the unsinkable Connor Brown, is back. Connor, are you recovered from the Masters and all the golfing? I know you were so into.
I'd just like to point out I was not at the Masters and I was not playing in the Masters, but
Well,
sure,
we know that. Yeah.
From watching it on TV from the comfort of my couch.
I
No,
know.
I have a bunch of other things coming up. We talked about a little bit here in Orlando. We have a brand new theme park that's opening. It's in theme park right now. It's called Epic Universe. I'm going there again.
Oh, you were going there again. I got frozen. I don't know what happened. Connor, you could
I'm
have.
going there again tomorrow, and I'm excited.
Nice.
So I know what I need to do. So when we start the show, I forgot to do something with my internet. So I will do that in a second. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you, Connor, is that you have this new Instagram channel about drinking. So talk about that.
It's about drinking in the theme parks in Orlando here at Disney and Universal. A lot of people don't know. It's a great place to get a cocktail, to get a beer, walk around. So you can follow my adventures there at Theme Park Happy Hour. It's only on Instagram at Theme Park Happy Hour. Give me a follow. You'll be sure to get some cool content there.
Now, Brooke, I want you to stay on the show. Don't go over there right now, okay? Because I know when you
I
heard
gotta
drinking.
go. I'll see y'all later.
Yeah, there she goes. All right, we're going to hit go on the podcast machine. This is going to be a fun show. Stephanie Graham says, hey, is this really live? It is live, and you will notice from all the mistakes that happen during the show. And my good friend Chris Stone showed up saying, what's good, party people? It is Friday, Chris Stone, and Brooke Sellas is here, so it is a good day. And mostly Disney says this is a great topic. It is, and we're going to be talking about how to build your own dopamine machine as soon as I hit go on the podcast machine, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Oh, wrong button. This has already started to be a fun show. This is live, Stephanie Graham. This is what happens. Okay, here we go. Let me pull up. There we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Connor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more.
Have you ever hit publish on a post and wondered why it fizzles instead of fires up your followers? Do you wish you knew the formula that keeps audiences talking, sharing, and coming back for more? If you nodded along to what I just said, then today's show is for you. This week, we're sitting down with Brooke Sellas, the conversational powerhouse behind B Squared Media. Brooke turned everyday social interactions into a dependable engine for loyalty and sales, and she's ready to walk us through her dopamine machine approach, complete with real-world wins, the 3E content filter, and a fresh way to measure return on conversation. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Social Media News Live. Brooke, thank you so much for being here again.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun show.
Always great to have Brooke. We're so excited to have her back. If you don't know who she is, you should, because Brooke is awesome. She is an award-winning CEO. She leads B Squared Media, a boutique agency redefining social care for brands. You can dive into her insights through her book, Conversations That Connect, her thought leadership on CMS Wire, or her expert-led courses, among them 3 digital marketing courses at the University of California, Irvine, and a LinkedIn learning course on social care. Welcome back to the show, Brooke.
Gosh, wow. I loved that intro.
Good intro.
Put y'all in my pocket and take you with me everywhere I go.
So we're going to talk about this today, but one of the things that I know you talked about in your talk is one of these influencers for Adobe, Goldie Chan, and everybody loves her. And one of the cool things is how they brought her in for community, and she's not really an expert in Adobe, but because she does so much stuff and is an influencer, they brought her in. And I thought that was a great kind of segue into the sponsor of our show, which is Ecamm, because they, just like Adobe, have a great community. They answer questions. They bring me on to sponsor the show, and I'm not an Ecamm expert, but I love Ecamm. I've always loved Ecamm. So if you'd like to find out more about Ecamm, you can go to ecamm.com/Jeff. Save 15% on your first purchase, and we thank you so much for sponsoring the show. I was able to hang out with Katie last night from Ecamm talking about her 80s movies podcast, and we were talking about inner space. Ooh. So if you have missed that, you need to go check that out. So let's talk about this dopamine machine to get started. Like, everybody kind of knows, they've heard dopamine rolled around, especially with all this social's bad for you kind of stuff. So tell people what a dopamine machine is, Brooke.
Well, dopamine is a chemical in our body, right? It's a chemical, a neurochemical that makes us feel good. It's that feel good feeling that you get. And what social should be is something that creates that feel good effect. If your content isn't creating that feel good effect, that's probably why your engagement is suffering, or why you put that post out and nothing happens. So to do social correctly, you need to think about the science behind why we connect as humans, and behind literally how our bodies and our brains work when we feel good about something. It releases the dopamine. It's like the reward molecule. A lot of people will call it the reward molecule. You'll feel this when you get a present, or if you're gambling and you win, or with me, like if I see a cupcake with buttercream frosting, lots of dopamine.
Preach. Yeah.
So it's a feel good feeling, and a lot of content doesn't do it. And this is my soapbox thing that I've been saying for a while now. Content is not what social media is all about. Content is merely the vehicle. The destination is emotion. So if your content isn't leading you or driving you towards emotion with your customers or would-be customers, you're doing it wrong.
I think
a lot of people are doing it wrong.
Yeah. I think we're about to discover that. I think so often too, like, we look at social media for content creators, especially, it can be part of their business model, right? How they make money, how they find clients, but there's still that dopamine effect to it, right? Especially when we see likes, comments, views, follower counts increase. I remember in the early part of the pandemic, that's when I launched my TikTok, and everyone was on it and everyone was commenting and liking, because that was the only way we were, quote unquote, together. It ballooned up. It got like 15,000 followers really, really quickly. But today, in today's era, it's much more silent, meaning the feeds, our feeds, we're consuming, we're not really interacting, right? We're giving our likes away, maybe a little bit less. People aren't commenting as much. How has, user behavior really impacted how brands need to go out there and set their, expectations for engagement?
Mm-hmm. Well, think about social media. We were talking about this in the green room, but like, we are like the AARP crew of social media, right? We're the dinosaurs of social media.
Right.
And it's been around for a long time now, and we're still trying to treat it like we used to. In my talk, Jeff, I called it like the Oprah-like days in the early days. Like, you get a like, and you get engagement, and you get a comment. Everybody gets a but that's not how it is anymore. Right. Now, the way consumers use social has changed because it's not a new platform. So when you look at the way consumers are using social now, it's really like three groups. There's one group, they're the shoppers, right? These are the people who go to social, they're researching new brands, they're buying on social. Sprout Social came out with a report, their social index 2025, and they said that 86% of US consumers have made an impulse purchase through social media in the last 6 months. Think about that number, right? So social is shopping. And then you still have the lurkers. I like to call them the silent observers, because some of my best friends are introverts. So I feel like lurkers a little like mean, but they're still lurkers, but they're looking for those deals, that brand conversation that's happening. And then there's the connoisseur of social, right? They've grown up with social. They know how it works, and clickbait and all of those things just don't work on them anymore. They're looking for quality versus quantity.
Mm-hmm. So this is a great question by, I'm going to pull this up by Dustin from Magi. Says, true story. The reason we humans love music so much is because when we recognize a pattern, we get a hit of dopamine. And then, of course, Mr. Music himself, cast ahead, Chris Stone says, Magi, very true. The science behind This Is Your Brain on Music is fascinating. And you bring that up too. And you brought it up in your talk, Brooke, with how important music is. And you even, I think you said, what is it? I got big butts, and then you had them finish the sentence, and everybody knew it. Yeah, so
everybody knew it.
Yeah,
I opened the video with a scary story of mine, right? Like, I was going to meet this new client. They felt a little buttoned up. I am obviously, as you're seeing now, or if you know me, not buttoned up. I'm kind of goofy, kind of quirky, kind of silly, and I was nervous. And so I went to the welcoming event, right? I'm all the way in Puerto Rico, so I'm out of the country with this client I've never met before who feels a little buttoned up. They invite me to this welcome dinner, and it's karaoke, which I didn't know. And their crew goes up there, and I'm like, oh, okay, what are they going to sing? And they start singing, I like big butts, or like right? And so I play this clip for the audience, and I'm like, if I said I like big butts and I cannot, and then the whole audience says, lie.
Right.
And that was me trying to start the talk by giving the whole entire room a hit of dopamine so that it would click with what we were about to talk about. And it did, because music is one of the best ways to get a dopamine hit.
So, you mentioned that dopamine is this reward molecule, that these platforms were designed around. So other than having karaoke night for our company, what are some concrete steps like a brand can take, like maybe tomorrow, to inject some of that, happy juice, like you talked about, back into like the posts on LinkedIn or wherever?
Yeah. So if you think about the whole emotional thing, and there was this Harvard study done, by the way, this isn't me just like making stuff up. There was a Harvard study done a few years ago that said that 95% of us buy based on emotion. It doesn't matter if you're B2B. It doesn't matter if you're buying a house or a label maker. Like, price is not a factor. 95% of humans buy based on emotion. So if you need to get people feeling that emotion to stop the scroll and get the engagement, how do you do that? Well, you've got to find out what your audience cares about. And what I say is, stop building a follower base and start building a customer base. And this will be a lot easier because you should already know what your customers care about, but it's nearly impossible to know what all my followers care about, right? And then based on what their pain points, their desires, the things that they are emotional about, you can start creating conversational content that allows you to have them respond. It could be as simple as a poll. And then you could move from polls to like put a heart emoji for yes and a sad emoji for no, right? Something simple. And then eventually you're going to lead into like fill in the blank content, or just an open content. I like to say, like, help me solve a debate. Alex says says that you lick a battery to see if it shocks you or not. And I've never heard of that in my life.
Oh, I've done that before.
Thing that I did. This is a real thing that I did because I had never heard of that. I had thousands of people weigh in on this one little innocuous post because apparently, and by the way, it was 50-50. Half of us have been living under a rock and didn't know that y'all did this. And the other half was like, oh my God, yeah. And then people were like, do it. Film yourself doing it, right? It became this whole thing. But like, it doesn't have to be serious and buttoned up and get people talking about the serious thing about your company. Like, no, it should be fun, but it should be brand adjacent.
That's a great point.
I think, hearing that Jeff has licked hundreds of batteries in his day explains a lot.
When I go off camera, that's what I'm doing, actually.
You're licking batteries. Oh, got you. Well, we all have our different forms of happy juice, and that's his. You, Brooke, you talk about your three pillars are education, entertainment, and empathy. And I love, that your posts kind of all go in those three pillars of what you're doing. But I also know that for that, it's more about connecting on an emotional stance to get engagement versus just going through the features. Jeff and I,
Yes.
we talk about Disney a lot, right? All the Disney commercials, they're never about stay at this hotel because it has two queen beds and it's this and this and this, right? No, but it's all about you're making memories and you're going on rides and you're having fun family moments because that appeals to the consumer much more than the simple features and benefits you get with that. Can you kind of talk about we just talked about the battery thing, but another couple examples when it comes to education, entertainment, and empathy, where you've posted something that's done so well because it's gone into that emotional kind of side of things.
Yeah, I'm going to throw some more science at you, which is I did my undergraduate thesis study on the social penetration theory. Terrible name, brilliant concept. It's in the book. We'll call it the onion theory because that sounds a lot nicer.
Right.
So the onion theory basically says when we want to connect with humans, we do so through self-disclosures. And there's 4 levels of self-disclosures. There's cliches, facts, opinions, and feelings. Relationships, trust, none of that happens until you get down to opinions and feelings.
Hmm.
However, when you go look at most branded content on social media, it sits in cliches and facts. A lot of product led companies talk about the features of their product. We just upgraded a 12-step blah, blah, blah for our app or whatever, right?
Right.
Talking about the features, cool. No one cares. And also, there's zero emotion about that. So, what I say is like, facts are features. So, we know we don't want to be by facts. You know, it's not a feature fact, benefits. Benefits are how someone will feel using your product. Or in your Disney example, we're going to
Hmm.
feel like we're having a magical time even though we're sleeping on these amazing cloud
Right.
mattress beds, right? Like it's not about the features, it's about the benefits or how you're going to feel. And so I can give you a ton of examples of this, but I think I love to use horse brands because I'm a horse mom, so forgive the puns and all the horse stuff, but like Ariat, which is a clothing brand for horse people, does a great job of this. They'll say things like what's your favorite horse movie, right? Brand adjacent, and horse people love to talk about horses, and we all have a favorite horse movie. Mine's Black Beauty.
Seabiscuit.
I've also read the book like 7,000 times. Yeah. So and then they'll do stuff like, hey, if it's 35 degrees outside, which weight blanket do you need? Right, which is very specific to their brand and the horse blankets that they have. And you answer the questions, which is an educational thing, right? And even if you get it wrong, they come back and like, well, actually, you need a mid-weight blanket because blah 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 blah, right? Instead of a heavy blanket or instead of a sheet or whatever the answer is. But they make it almost into like gamification so that even though it's educating the audience, like, by the way, if it's 35 degrees, you should be blanketing your horse.
Hmm.
Um, it's fun. It's not fun.
So I want to. So this is a great kind of not question, but I'm going to pull it up anyway because Dustin says I had a hard time with benefits, but someone told me to switch the word to outcomes and it clicked. So let's take Dustin's brand. So he's Magi AI platform pulls in all these great different APIs so you can use. You're not limited to one, which is kind of his selling point. So how does he not go into the benefits? Because it's really easy to do that. Like, hey, we do this. These other guys don't. So how does he flip this story kind of in your examples? Like not doing so much benefits, but doing it in a different way. What would you suggest for like Dustin?
Yeah. So this is one of the classes that I teach, by the way. So I literally teach this in one of my classes for Thermo Fisher at UCI, but you can't get to outcomes until you know pain points. You can't get to pain points until you know your audience, and your audience is going to have different segments. So like I teach classes for Thermo Fisher, which is a big scientific brand, but they're selling sometimes to labs. They're selling to government, they're selling to nonprofit. Each one of those audiences is going to have different pain points. And the win for that audience, the outcome, the solution, the benefit, the win for that audience is going to look very different. So if you start with your audience research and your ICPs, your ideal customer profiles, take each segment that you're selling to. And by the way, I just blew up all my audiences literally this year and went through this exercise myself. And figure out all of those pain points, all of those wins, all of the outcomes that they're looking for that would make them the hero by using your
Mm-hmm.
product or your service. And then it'll be much easier to help you write in the way of outcomes, wins, solutions, benefits, whatever.
Yeah, and I didn't want to put Dustin under the bus, but and because he's got a great community, a Facebook community where people ask questions, he supports them, he's talking in there all the time. So I think a lot of the what he's getting community wise is and conversation wise is from that community. So I didn't want, I didn't
Yeah.
want to say like Dustin's doing
Well,
it
I'm
wrong
sure.
because he's not.
Yeah, no. I would
You're there.
Okay. I would take the raw conversational data from Facebook. His tool. He probably already does this, but anyways, for those of you who listening who aren't as smart as Dustin, I would take all of those raw conversations, download them into an CSV from your native social platform, no matter if it was Facebook or somewhere else. I would upload this into my LLM of choice. For me, it's ChatGPT, but use whatever you like, and have it perform a gap analysis on that raw data. The best thing that AI does is NLP, natural language processing. So if you take those raw conversations and you upload them into AI, it can do all kinds of amazing analyses for you. And one of the things I would do is have it help you understand, what are those pain points? What are those desires? What are those wishes? What are those outcomes that people are looking for? And then have it help you modify and create those ICPs, create a plan, a sales playbook around those IPCPs that meet those pain points and or desires, outcomes, wins with actual language, and then have it create different types of language for you to go back and then use IRL with that Facebook group or on your LinkedIn community or wherever it is.
Gotcha.
And Dustin has a great point about that too. He says a lot of people have a hard time with figuring out ICP, and those individual pain points, AI is great at helping with that. Perfect example of what Brooke you just shared there too, right?
Yeah. Yes, I kind of have a secret that I have not told anyone, like anyone, only my team knows. So I'm just going to say it because why not?
Yeah.
I actually created a Brooke sales bot. And it literally walks you through the entire process of creating the ICPs, creating the playbooks, creating the scripts, creating all of the things that we're talking about from soup to nuts so that you can get better at speaking to the benefits or the wins or the outcomes with your audiences on social media or otherwise.
That is
It's
really
not
cool.
out yet, but she's in beta. And so far, I'm getting really good feedback.
That's awesome. That's really
But
cool.
so many ways that AI can help us, right? And
Really?
learning from what we already have. And I know, Brooke, you teased an AI-driven engagement quality score kind of system. Can you talk about that a little bit, and how does it differ from the traditional social media metrics like likes, comments, follows, those sorts of things?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So I moved to AI for an EQS score, engagement quality score, because as we've been doing social care for our clients, and our clients, when you think about the clients who use social care, these are usually bigger brands. They have a lot of conversation happening on every social channel you can think of, right? So there's a lot happening. There's a lot of chatter out there. And part of what my team does is we come in, we help answer those questions, we act as the front line, but really we're trying to move from the what, like here's what's being said, here's the data, to the why, right? Why is it being said? Because if we know the why, then we can get to that solution or benefit type thing. What I wanted to understand using AI was, why? Why do some people go deeper with us and some people don't? How do I score that? How do I put that into a matrix that's easy for the client to understand? Because I get it, right? But I've been doing this for a long time. And a lot of times we're educating these clients on what social care is. They're used to social media moderation or,
Mhm.
basic social media management. So the AI helps me create a quality engagement score where we look at things that actually matter to the algorithms on social. So, all of the algorithms, by the way, on social media channels weight conversations very high. If you've ever noticed, you can go look at my LinkedIn page personally. This past week, I've had a couple of conversations that have gone pretty bananas. And it's because there's so much conversation. What you'll see happen when you start to have more conversations on your social media content is your reach will exponentially grow. You'll see new people coming into the conversation and new people following or connecting with you. And so this engagement quality score really looks at when that conversation happens, right? We're going beyond a comment. We're going to
Mhm.
that back and forth conversation. It starts to score inside of a matrix how good that back and forth conversation is, how adjacent to the brand topics or themes that conversation is, and helps us identify potential would-be customers, would-be advocates, etc.
So I want to get really practical because I know some people are in here who are travel agents. Connor's a travel agent, but mostly Disney does that kind of stuff as well. And so, for their social, a lot of times they're posting their packages or their trips, and they're gonna get comments back like it's like, oh, that looks so much fun, or yeah, we went there last year. Connor was great. So how can they go further, right? Like, because I see a lot of travel agents. The good ones, even the good ones, don't do a great job at this conversation piece. So, what are some steps like Connor can do, or but mostly Disney could do, to get to the point? Because right now, they really wouldn't have any data to put in an AI model because it's mostly benign comments. So, how do you
Mhm.
get to that stage?
That's a great question. And my point there is when they do leave like this looks fun, you can't just go in and like that. And people are like, well, I don't have time. Okay, well then you don't have time to get a return on investment from your social media then. If you want a return, if you need dollars, if you need customers, which I'm pretty sure all of us do,
Right.
then you do need to take the time and go in and say, hey, what part about it looks the most fun to you? Or have you been before? Or did you know they're coming out with this new ride at wherever it is, or whatever it may be?
Mm-hmm.
But try to continue that conversation, because I'm telling you, as soon as that back and forth conversation starts happening inside of the comments on any of the social platforms, you will see a giant lift in your reach, meaning how many people are seeing that piece of content. This is especially true on LinkedIn. So not only do you need to be soliciting opinions and feelings from your audience, meaning asking those conversational type questions as you're content planning, but also when they come in and they take the time, think about this. They didn't just like and move on. They took the time to stop and say, this looks fun. That may seem innocuous, but that is a huge deal in the world of social, and you need to treat it that way. So thank you so much. I'm so glad you think it looks fun, Connor. Hey, you know what's really fun? Have you seen the XYZ? Right? So I'm leading into trying to get that conversation going, and it feels natural. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to make, well, tell me what was fun about it, Connor. Like you try to make it
Right.
feel
Right.
like it's a natural, fun conversation. Um, and then you're basically priming. We have to prime AI. We also have to prime the people, y'all. You've
Mm-hmm.
got to prime your social media community to start to converse with you on these channels. So if they're not already doing it, you have to start to find ways to get them to converse with you. That is the only way you're going to survive on social. I'm telling you, especially with all these algorithm changes.
Yeah.
So one of the things, real quick, Connor, I want to kind of do a callback to a couple episodes ago. Vincent Pellegacy, I can't say his name right. Was that right? Did I screw it
No.
up, Connor? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
It's
Very
Vincent. Go to
badly.
Vincent. We talked about community, and the cool thing that he does, he says a kind of an hour of power where he goes in at first thing in the morning and he goes and he leaves messages, like voice messages, and I'm like, and I've gotten them from him. That is huge. Like, I'm not going to ignore that. I'm not going to, and just by that hour a day, he has grown a huge community just by being a good person and having a conversation. So when you were talking about that, I was thinking, okay, that's even another little like on top of to get that stuff rolling. So
Yes, I encourage people to do this all the time. And I don't even say an hour. I'm like, just for 15 minutes a day, because trust me, you will get to an hour once you see the results.
right.
Go into your favorite platform. For me, it's LinkedIn, and go leave comments, and not, am I allowed to say bad words? And not poopy comments, but like, not like, "Ugh, congratulations,
Yeah.
like not like that. Go in and like literally leave a thoughtful comment. If you need to, use AI to help you get there, right? But don't copy and paste. But leave thoughtful comments. You will be shocked at what a difference it makes after even just 30 days of that 15 minutes. Trust me, the next month you'll be moving up to 30, and the next month you'll be moving up to hour. And pretty soon you're going to be like me and making sure that you're answering questions as quickly as you can, commenting on other people's stuff and on your own stuff, because also speed does matter. One of the things the algorithm looks at is what you'll notice is if you respond quickly to someone's question and then they respond quickly back, that speed is like a 10x on that conversation, right? So there are conversations and then there are like fast happening conversations. All the algorithms love the fast happening conversations. So if you don't have time, I say, great, then don't bother being on social, because this is what the social is all about, but also what the algorithms reward. This is why people are complaining about engagement so much right now, that the engagement is down. And it is, but mine's not. Our clients aren't, because we focus on having conversational content drive these conversations every day when we're on the platform.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Jeff, I want to bring up a few comments just for some clarification. Rich Graham says ICP, juggalos, question mark. And Sean from But Mostly D says, I come back from making a sandwich and ICP is in the chat. No, ICP, this is a different ICP. It's not the insane clown
I was going
posse.
to say, Insane Clown Posse. We must all be Gen X.
Which we're all juggalos here, right?
Yeah.
We're drinking our Faygo and our Janko jeans, listening to some ICP.
Hell
No,
yes.
it's ideal customer profile or persona, whatever you want for that. And then also, but mostly Dizzy says right now, he's small enough that he answers every comment, but asking a question back is a great idea. He also, it's why he comes in here on Fridays too. It comes in here. It's the live.
He keeps pooping in here on Fridays.
You gotta do it wherever, I guess. I don't know. I mean, at least he's regular, right?
Yeah. He's got plenty of fiber. Eating all that Disney popcorn. That's what it is.
That's great.
I need.
All right. There's no way to make a smooth transition there, but we'll try our best.
I mean, that's
smooth. Good. There you go. Brooke, your 2024 State of Social Care report. It spotlighted a huge gap between what consumers are expecting and how ready a brand is, I guess, to kind of like what we're just talking about, right? Like, are they there? Are they going to be communicating with us back and forth, or they just posting into a void? What's one stat, I think, from that year's research that just surprised you the most, and a stat that it might be the same one you think teams really need to focus on and act on when they're seeing those things?
I think one of the scariest things that has been uncovered by not just us, but Sprout and Sprinkler and a lot of these tools that have social care features, 76% of consumers will go to a competitor if you do not respond to their questions on social. 76%. That is wild. And I think about all the brands that I see all the time today, yesterday, years ago, but still even today, that are not responding to these customer questions on social. And the worst part is they're only doing social media moderation, right? Which is the basic 101 social. They are waiting for those comments to come to them. So I'm commenting on your post or I'm sending you a DM. There are so many people out there talking about your brand that aren't, mentioning or tagging you. We call them dark mentions. So I'll give you a quick example. If I were to say, hey, Nike, I just got the new Air Jordans and they're amazing, and I tagged Nike, they would see that notification or that mention, right? Either in their native platform or through their social dashboard they were using. But what if I said, oh my God, I just got my Air Jordans and they're freaking amazing. Didn't tag Nike. There's nothing to tag, right? But that's their product, one of their biggest selling products, right? If they weren't using social listening, they would miss out on that conversation. And so would you. So there could be people talking about your products, your stakeholders. They could be even talking about your brand and just not tagging you. And you don't see that information. So it's a huge miss that brands aren't responding to the people who are coming to them. But it's a big miss also if you are not answering those conversations where you aren't being tagged, those dark mentions. I'll give you an example. Somebody went out on a Twitter X and they were an HP customer and they're complaining to HP like, HP, they literally tagged. So HP is aware. And they're like, I'm getting so sick of the ink running out and blah, blah, blah. So they were complaining, right? No response from HP. Epson, right? Did I say Epson or HP? Epson? HP? Anyways, Epson or HP. I
Right.
can't remember what I just said. Which one did I say?
It's whatever.
Epson, HP.
HP is
Anyways,
fine. Whatever.
HP, then the competitor Epson comes in and is like, "Oh, hey, Brooke. Sorry to hear you're having problems with your ink.
Oh,
Let us
boy.
help you with blah, blah, blah." Now, think about that stat I just told you. 76% of people, when you don't respond, are willing to go into a competitor. Now, this competitor is using social listening to listen to its competitors' conversations and then coming in and using that information to steal that share of market, right? That if that customer, 76% chance they went to the other brand and now are a customer of that brand just because they didn't get an answer from Epson or HP. I can't remember which one I said first.
But
That's
you know what's so great about that is I think we have a lot of creators here, right? So they might not have a huge brand or they're selling a huge product, right? But they're adjacent to it, right? Maybe we have some tech creators in here. We have travel creators in here, right? If you can set up with a tool or just by yourself, those dark mentions on the products you're talking about all the time or the destinations you're talking about all the time where you're an expert, you can then go in and comment on people's comments about those things and start a relationship that way too, right?
1000%. So you could set up the listener could be on Disney, a specific Disney products, places, whatever. You would get alerted in your social dashboard about these conversations, and then you could slide right on into the conversation
Yeah.
and be like, "Hey, I heard you're asking questions about Disney for roller coasters. My family loves roller coasters," or whatever it is. Did you know about the Fast Pass, right?
Yeah.
If you get the Fast Pass, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and by the way, we have a deal because we're a partner with Disney where we actually get cheaper deals on the Fast Pass. DM me for more information. Yeah, this is how we start social selling for our clients. One of the ways we start social selling, because believe it or not, a lot of this chatter that's happening, these dark mentions and these mentions straight to the brand, are what we call sales support chatter. So it's like, do you have this in my size? Do you ship to Australia? This is one of my actual clients. Does this kitty litter work with an iRobot? The little
oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
the robot kitty
Yeah.
litter one,
Uh-huh.
that was a real question. One of our clients got their kitty litter brand. That is a sales support question. If we run in there quickly and we say, "Hey, Jeff, it sure does. Here's a video on how that works," or whatever we say, right? We know that Jeff's showing interest in buying the product, but interest doesn't equal intent. So Jeff goes and watches the video. And then if Jeff comes back, because we now know he has interest, but if he comes back, because most people don't, they just go watch the video, they go away. But if Jeff comes back and he's like, "Oh, wow, this is incredible," we know we've got intent, right? Intent to buy. So now what we could do is say, "Hey, we have a special promo for you. We've got a BOGO deal going on. Use this code, and if you buy a bag of our kitty litter, you'll get one free," right? Now, Jeff goes and buys the kitty litter using that code. Now that money is attributed to social care and social media. And once you have those actual revenue dollars behind what you're doing on social, the C-suite pays attention. They don't take away your budgets when things get rough because they know that money's coming in from social channels. All kinds of great things happen. But you have to use social in a completely different way than most people are using social today.
Yeah. So where can I get some of this free kitty litter? Because like when Chad comes over from But Mostly Disney, it helps with the cleanup. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause
Wait, I do. I want to make a quick point of clarification. Brooke, I'm so sorry to say this. It's no longer Fast Pass. It's Lightning Lanes, but that's what they
I'm
call it
sorry.
here.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
all right.
now
It's
you
all
know
right.
how long it's been
No,
since I've been. It's been a
totally
while.
fine.
It's been a minute.
It's totally fine. Just
Yeah.
reach out to Connor, CONOR at Vacation Kingdoms for all your Lightning Lane needs. Thank you.
That's right. There we go.
Thank you, I
Little
will.
plug.
Because my husband's never been, so at some point we're going to have to go.
Oh
so,
my goodness, Brooke.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask a question because I know a lot of people are like, okay, you've sold me on the social listening. How do I get started? Because, like I use Agora Pulse. I've been using them for a long time. That's what I use for social listening. It's really great. But sometimes that's not the best fit for somebody who's just getting started. So can you give some other options that people might be able to use for this social listening, some other tools that you recommend?
Well, I used to always mention.com and they would give you one free listener. They may still do that, but funnily enough, and I'm sure Jeff, you know this, Agorapulse just bought Mention.
Mm-hmm.
So Agorapulse's social listening capabilities are about to skyrocket because a Mention was one of the big social
Right.
listening tools. There are a ton out there. Sprout Social has social listening, Sprinkler has social listening, there's Brandwatch, there's Talkwalker. Um, my advice is I will tell you social media listening isn't cheap because it's pulling APIs from all of the different platforms in real time
Mm-hmm.
constantly. So it's not a cheap thing to do. So I would say know what your budget is and know what you're trying to do with social listening. Are you trying to go after that competitor warfare kind of thing that we mentioned? Are you just looking to see those brand mentions for when people are saying Air Jordan and not Nike? Know what you're trying to do with your social listening strategy. And then when you go demo these tools, tell them right up front, this is my budget, no more. And this is what I'm trying to do. And I need you to show me on this demo that your tool does that. And if they can't show you on that demo, it's time to go to the next demo. That's not the tool for you, right? They should be able to show you the use case that you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do.
Mm. That's a great point to make sure that you understand it, because you just looking at their sales page doesn't always give you the best idea of how it works and if it'll work in your workflow and
No,
all that kind of stuff.
no. Yeah,
So,
and they all have different scores. Like Forrester always puts out like a social listening tech score. Like you can go do some research to find
mhm.
out what, narrow your list down. And then and then do your homework, know what you want to do, know what your budget is, and then stick to it.
So one of the things that I think you need to trademark this, I don't know if you can, but you coined this term ROC, which is return on conversation, which I think is brilliant.
Thank
So
you.
because it's a truer success gauge than, return on investment on the social kind of side of things. So how does that reporting look like? Because we just talked about social listening, and this is a big part of that. So how does it look like on your dashboard? Like, how do you score it? What's what are you looking for when you finally get this report back?
So it is the name of the next book, by the way, which
Oh,
is the
cool.
first book was Conversations That Connect. The second book is Return on Conversation. And this is where we're going to go in and show you what that looks like. So what I say in my talk is every marketer thinks they want ROI, but what they need is ROC, which is return on conversation. We use that EQS scoring matrix, right, to really understand where the conversations are happening. And what this does for you from a raw data standpoint is it really opens up the world of why, right? We're trying to move away from what. Every marketer, every social tool can give you the what. Very few tools, very few marketers can get you to why. So we want to know why these conversations are happening. That starts to get into like sentiment, right? If it's about our brand.
Mhm.
So is the conversation positive? Is it neutral? Is it negative? Where is it positive? Why is it positive? Why is it negative? I say this all the time. I can't believe people would avoid negative comments. I mean, I get it stings, but that is literally the only place for change. That is the only your customer is taking the time. They are literally giving you a gift by saying your packaging sucks, right? Bloom is the example I use all the time. They had a little like serum. I'm going to use this. It's not serum, but they had a little serum like this, and it came with a dropper. Like, so, you'd open it up and have like a little dropper.
Mhm.
Well, they changed that dropper to a pump, so you would pump instead of a dropper, like the squeezy dropper. Their customers went berserk. They had so much negative conversation, but instead of freaking out, they took all of the negative little comments that were happening, they slapped them into like a carousel post, and they were like, these are all the terrible things you said about our new packaging. We heard you. We're going to fix it. Then they literally went back to the old packaging, found all of, the user generated content around the new packaging and how much they were so excited. And thank you for listening to me. And nobody ever does this and blah, blah, blah. And they announced the new packaging, which was really the old packaging, and then had a link to
Yeah.
go shop. And that post had so many comments and engagement on it. I'm assuming, I don't work there, that a lot of people hit that little button and went and bought the product that they wanted, right?
Mhm.
So I just think it's not rocket science, it's not rocket surgery. It's just listening and finding out the why and then
Mhm.
giving them that. So negative, the why. Finding out the why, um around themes, right? So
Mhm.
you could talk about a million different things with your company probably, but when you see where the conversation's really happening and you know why it's happening there, and it helps unlock new content for you. It's just, I mean, I don't know how to put it into
Right.
words, but it literally helps every department of every business. We've changed
Yeah.
product packaging because of social listening and social care. We've changed pricing because of social listening and social care. We've eliminated overdraft fees because of social listening and
Mhm.
social care. We've helped clients make a lot more money, usually like a 20% lift based on social listening and social care. So it's just listening to what your customers want and giving them that. I guess that's the simple statement, but
Right.
it's just not rocket science.
On that note, have you ever gone and like the customers exploded, but because you can't change. Let's say you've already ordered all these pumps and you can't get rid of them. Like the bottom line just won't handle it. So how do you handle that with the social listening when you have to go back to your audience and say you can't go like, hey, we're changing it. Go buy the thing, the dropper again. You're going like, we had to do this because of this, and this. I'm assuming the
They don't care.
conversation is important.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yes, they don't care. So what it is like, "Oh my gosh, I hear you, Jeff. You really liked the dropper. And you know what? We're hearing a lot of people miss the dropper. So stay tuned. We're having conversations about this. I'm making no promises, but I want you to know I hear you. I
mm,
understand that this is a frustration for you. A lot of people are frustrated. I would be frustrated too. Please stay tuned. We're going to try to fix this."
gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
it. Right? And then if you don't fix it, then it comes back to that E of education. Okay, y'all, we heard you. We tried to bring the dropper back. Here's why we can't. Now we have to give some education in there, right? But there's still lots of empathy happening because you're like, we're so sorry. We messed up. We're so sorry,
Right.
right? But in their case, they got to bring it back and be the hero in so many ways, not only because they brought the dropper back, but because they were like, we heard you and we
Yeah.
listen and we care
Mm,
about you. And
very
that
cool.
is so rare to find with a brand.
Yeah. Very, very
I
cool.
think about that new Coke case study all the time and wonder, like, when they switched it, like, what if that happened in the social media days,
Oh
people
my
would have
gosh.
lost their freaking minds. The internet
Yeah.
would have broken like 9 times over, but they probably would have fixed it quicker too, right? Because to their credit, they did fix it as quickly as they started to hear things.
Mhm.
Jeff mentioned this partnership at the top of the show, Adobe and Goldie Chan. This influencer who knew a little about Adobe, but was really passionate about that and helping people. It's an example where an influencer has helped live troubleshooting that's partnered with a brand, but not is the brand itself. Brooke, how can smaller companies, smaller institutions kind of pilot something like that, like an influencer social care,
Mhm.
even if they don't have, a Fortune 500 or whatever Adobe is kind of budget.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you could be as small as you want with this kind of play, but essentially, Goldie used Adobe. Adobe saw that Goldie had a large following. They reached out to her to become an influencer for the brand, and she did. And people love Goldie so much, as Jeff was mentioning. She's just a breath of it. She's just a burst of sunshine. Like she's so great. They saw how much their customers resonated with Goldie, who's also a customer, but they had hired to be an influencer, that they started to plot her into their social customer care. So Adobe would do these live sessions where they would kind of go through some troubleshooting with their clients for the product. I forget what the product's called. It's like the the like Canva like one. I
Yeah.
forget
Yeah.
what it's called.
I know
Adobe
what you,
Express.
yes, that's it.
Yes, thank you. So they started to bring Goldie in to these AMAs for troubleshooting, and she was there with a SME, a subject matter expert, who was obviously an Adobe employee. But they would do these AMAs together because people would really kind of be like, "Okay, Goldie, I have this issue," and if Goldie didn't know the technical way to explain that, the subject matter expert was there to kind of guide that part of the conversation. But they were almost like, we don't want to talk to you. We want to talk to Goldie. We know Goldie. We
Right. Right.
know Goldie, right? With social media, we have these parasocial relationships where we think we know someone because we see them on these videos like this or on podcasts that we listen to every week. So we think we know them. So they felt more comfortable, and they understood that these troubleshooting events went much better when they actually had the likable person that people knew kind of running the show, but really the subject matter expert was there to troubleshoot from a technical point of view.
That's
It's
genius.
so smart. This
Yeah.
is the future of influencer marketing, y'all. I said that was actually in not 2004's report, but 2003's report. This is where influencer marketing is going to go. You're going to see more and more influencers helping brands with social care, because it just makes so much sense, because they know that person, they like that person, they trust that person. And so the brand's going to be able to hang their hat or ride that influencer's coattails.
Yeah. And that leads right into something that, I mentioned before was Ecamm, because they don't like they're not just putting out commercials every week. They have this community, people like me who put out the shows and talk about them kind of organically. I think it's genius. I love the way they do it. And that's why I'm a big fan of Ecamm, who sponsors the show, by the way, ecamm.com/Jeff. You can find out more by going there. They do have an amazing community and an amazing product. That's what we use to produce the show. But on this note of building communities, I wanted to talk about, you mentioned a guy called Nick. You called him Nick, who was a super fan who helped seed a beta community. So what kind of repeatable playbook can people watching the show use to identify and activate their own Nick, their own super fan?
Yeah. So this was actually for a credit union, and that is a tough business, right? It's service-based, and anytime there's money involved, if it's banking or a credit union, it's never fun, right? There's a lot of negative conversation that you have to kind of mitigate and get out in front of. But we noticed as we were helping them with their social care that Nick was always the first to like every post, always the first to leave a comment, always the first to share something. So we kind of alerted our internal team, and we were like, hey, who is this Nick guy? Who is Nick? He's an advocate, right? So they reached out to Nick and started talking to him about hey, you know so much about us. You're so supportive. Tell us your story. They highlighted him as a customer story in some of their newsletters and things like that. But Nick, his support never unwavered. As we continued to ask him, can we feature in this? Do you mind doing this? He was always like, yes. So we finally decided that we wanted to start a community, an internal community, to work with the team at this credit union to really understand the why from the customer, right? So that they could get better with their products, their marketing, all the things. And so they obviously went to Nick first and were like, hey, if we start this little beta group community, would you be one of the people interested in leading this community? And Nick said yes. And so my whole point is, when I talk about this story with other people, I'm like, find your Nicks. You probably have a Nick already. Now imagine if you could find 10 Nicks. 10 Nicks is a huge focus group for you. Those are literally your whys sitting there ready to tell you what your whys are, what things should be. And it's just finding 10 Nicks, right? It's, of course, finding 10 is a lot harder than finding one. But when you have the one, it gets so much easier, because that one is going to help you recruit two. And then once there's two, now you're marketing in twos, right? And then you're marketing in three. And pretty soon you've got your group of 10 Nicks, and you really only had to recruit maybe the first 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's real easy, but you have to be paying attention to the conversations. You have to be kind of flagging internally who those advocates can be, and then having those online conversations with them, getting that vibe check. And if the vibe is vibing, then it's oh, hey, Jeff, want to reach out to you because, you've just been so wonderful and so supportive, and we're thinking about starting this beta community, or I'm going to beta test this sales bot, and you've been so wonderful. Would you be interested in beta testing it with the group? And Jeff's like, hell yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the reasons, and I have said this before, but one of the reasons I love live video and doing what we're doing here is because, one, it's kind of hard to fake this with AI right now. It's hard to do. And it's also, I'm seeing in real time that this is resonating with my audience. We have all these different, I think we've already got 50 comments already, and we've got friends showing up. Yeah. And so, Amy's like, hey, don't be afraid of the feedback. And the community talks to each other inside of the chat. So it's that's why because I have a whole group of Nicks. Every one of these people who show up every week are I mean, my friends and why I do the show. So I just love what you were just saying about, the real time stuff and doing a live show. Man, there's nothing more real time than that. So
Yes.
I love doing this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
How can you they're going to tell you what they want. Your
right.
Knicks have told you they love this, right? They
Hmm.
love this type of content. You are giving them what they want. Connor's Knicks may be different and want something else, obviously, because it's travel related. Great. Find out what it is that they want and then give them that. Maybe they want you doing like Facebook Lives from new resorts or,
Yes.
whatever that looks like. Find out what it is and then just give it to them. I mean,
Mhm.
it's really not hard.
Absolutely. And AI could never, ever come up with an insane clown posse interlude halfway through a show. It just wouldn't
Right.
happen.
It wouldn't.
There's
Wouldn't
no
happen.
way
Yeah.
it
Would
has
never
that
happen.
capacity. Would never happen. Brooke, you've talked a lot about and championed a lot of low friction interactive formats on social, right? We talked about a little bit, especially with so many people just passively consuming, right? Watching the video, looking at the photos, but not necessarily interacting with it at all. But these kind of low friction formats like a poll or fill in the blanks, you talk about them as being like these grooming tools that kind of lead to deeper dialogue. What formats in this low friction style of interaction are you seeing that's working really, really well on social right now?
For me on LinkedIn, which is my chat platform of choice, right? I hang out on LinkedIn because my customers hang out there, right?
Mhm.
I'm a B2B company, so LinkedIn makes the most sense for me. That's where I hang out. But there, especially, I've noticed that text only posts, which sounds crazy, but it's
Yeah.
LinkedIn, actually are getting me the most traction. And obviously, these posts where I'm sparking conversation, especially when it's I call it the non-controversy type post. So
Mhm.
if, like I was saying, if you go look this week, I did a non-controversy post, which was like, hey, marketers, I know tomorrow's May 1st, but if you could just not post spring ahead content, I'd really appreciate it. And I signed it like your content calendar's last nerve or something
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
that. And boy, did it spark a nerve with people, right? Because some people were like, I feel attacked, blah, blah, blah. And I
Uh-huh.
went through and I answered them and I gave them like 10 different ways to say other things, right? Like I actually was helpful and valuable in the
Mhm.
conversation. And then some people were like, "Oh, I agree." And then some people were like, "Well, what about the whole 'It's gonna be May' with Justin Timberlake,"
Justin
right?
Timberlake.
And I was like, "Well, obviously that's allowed." And then some people were like, "No, that's not allowed." But anyways, the controversy post is huge. I think that works on any platform almost. It's where you're not getting into like actual controversies. We're not talking about like politics or religion
Right.
or
Right. Right.
anything like that, right? It's a it's kind of a lighthearted controversy. I do this
Yeah.
a lot, and I'll say something like spicy take, and then I'll put whatever the controversy is. And people listen, we can't help ourselves. We want to be like,
Right.
you're wrong, or here's my opinion, and well,
Yeah.
actually, right? The will actually is my favorite. It's
Mm.
it's usually a dude on my post. And
Right.
he comes in and he's like, "Well, actually," and I'm
Mansplaining.
like, "Ooh, I
Mansplaining.
struck a
Yeah.
nerve!
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay, we can start a conversation on this." Yeah.
There.
So controversy, text only posts work very well.
And I
Nice.
think you can reuse those like every year because like one I do, I just and it irritates me is the main reason I post it is like these are a few of my favorite things. It's not a Christmas song, and so I always post that during and people will fight me on that, and I'm like,
Yes.
it is not. It's from Sound of Music. It has
Yes.
rappers and strings, and that's a few of that's not a Christmas song. So I will fight you on that one.
Yeah. It's a
And
great
it's
one.
yeah, and so those kind of things and like the Disney like Connor's area of influence like
Yeah.
there's no shortage of controversy on
Oh,
those
I can
things, man.
only
Yeah. People
imagine.
Oh
actually, they're
yeah.
terrifying. Really do.
Like,
They're
Mickey's
scary.
the best character. I'll die on this hill. And people are like, "Oops.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, oh my
actually."
gosh.
Yeah.
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 So I
Yeah,
went
and that's what I'm saying, it's fun, like, it's lighthearted, we're not
right.
actually trying to stir up a controversy, it's
Mhm.
fun, it's lighthearted. When the lady came and said, like, "I feel attacked where I am, it is most definitely not spring yet, my tulips haven't even, sprouted,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "You do you, boo, and also, I hope your tulips sprout real soon, I love tulips," and then she came
Yeah.
back and posted something nice, so I make sure I keep it lighthearted even for people who might accidentally take it seriously. But But there's literally endless ways you could do that with any topic. Any topic. There's a non-controversy
Yeah.
controversy.
See, and this is why I love Amy Keys, because she goes, "I'm with you, Jeff, not a Christmas song." See, already. And then we've got already people, it's Die Hard at Christmas. I knew this is going to happen.
We don't have time for that.
So, but I want to bring up something from
great non-controversy controversy.
One of the things is, but mostly Disney says, I love doing my podcast live. Then the Knicks really get to control the content, which belongs to them anyway, which I thought was a great one. Yeah.
Yes. Once you get in that mindset, like the customer owns the marketing, the customer owns the brand, the customer owns the brand reputation. Once you get that mindset, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, Brooke, this has been amazing and gone by too fast, but I'm serious, folks, you got to get her book. It's over on Kindle and on her website. It is a great book. And I actually have, look, I even have it signed by Brooke in there. Do you remember what you said, Brooke? I'm going to quiz you. You don't know.
I love you so much.
Right, yeah, something like that. Right there. What she says to everybody. No, but get her book. It's great. I can't wait till your second book is. But Brooke, where can people find out about you, your services, everything you got going on? The floor is yours.
You can find all things Brooke at brookesellas.com. That's Brooke with an E and then SELLAS.com. My company is b2 which is up on the screen. It's just Brooke, like the letter B for Brooke, and then squared.media, not .com. And hit me up on either of those places if you're interested in that little sales bot that I've got going, because I think I will be launching her very soon. I don't know why I'm calling her, but whatever. She's great.
All the killer AIs are named her, really. I mean, so other than Skynet.
True story, I asked my Brooke bot, my personal bot, what her pronouns were. And she literally said she, her, because I'm made in your likeness, I prefer she, her.
Oh,
there you go.
Very cool.
So
Connor Brown, what's going on? The unsinkable Connor Brown. What do you got going on?
I'm definitely not working on an AI bot of myself. The world does not need that. That's not going to be good for human society. No way. Yeah. So much is going on. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, we have a brand new theme park here in Orlando, Epic Universe. Tickets are on sale. You can go now as a travel advisor. I can help you get there. I'll be there tomorrow. Follow me on the socials at Vacation Kingdoms and at Theme Park Happy Hour, where I'll be posting a whole bunch of stuff from this new place in Orlando. It's going to be awesome. Great show. Always awesome. Getting to talk to Brooke.
Yes. And thanks so much for everybody who showed up today. Peg Fitzpatrick stopped by, watching over LinkedIn. Amy Keys, Rich Graham. I'd love to see Sabrina was back in the show today. Thank you guys so much for coming. We wouldn't be able to do the show without you. And thank you to our sponsors, Ecamm, as well as Brooke. Get her book. Go to her website. Do all the You've got a podcast too, don't you?
I do. The Social Media CX show. So it's all about customer experience on social media. If you like this topic, you'll probably like that show.
Yeah. So, and she's a great podcaster and live show. Yeah, you see her here. She's very full of personality and a lot of fun. So if you ever get her to see her speak, you need to do that as well. With that, everybody, thank you so much for all of you. We really appreciate you here at the show. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.